Okay, so this episode, I was going into this episode not really sure what we were going to get, because it's right off the heels of Vader and Obi-Wan's first encounter, first fight, where Obi-Wan got wiped the floor with. As I said in my other video, I really liked the approach of that. I like the way they're building Obi-Wan up. They haven't just had him go from hermit back to full Obi-Wan Kenobi mode. He's got PTSD, he's rusty, and they really kind of lent into that, and it increased the emotion and of the scene between Obi-Wan and Vader, the fear aspect. But also we're going to get like a growth arc of Obi-Wan, which is necessary. We don't just want to see Obi-Wan existing. We want to see him grow in this series and go from being completely out of touch from the Jedi way, shocked, not having processed what happened with Anakin, to becoming maybe possibly at peace and more in line, in center with his Jedi ways. So at the end of episode 3, he was injured. Vader pushed him through the fire and it burnt all the side of his arm, and he was carried off and rescued, and then obviously Leia was captured. And Vader didn't chase, because I think he just feels like, I'll find you again, sort of thing. It's inevitable, they're going to meet again. So this episode, what I really liked about this episode was that it got straight back into the action. It didn't spend too long. When episode 3 finished, I was a bit worried about this episode, because I thought it might be a filled, given that Obi-Wan was so injured at the end of episode 3, I was kind of worried that this episode would just be him lying on a table in pain, and it would be a very slow episode. And considering there are only 6 episodes and this would be the 4th, I just thought there's not enough time to do that. It would be a waste. So what I liked about this was that right off the bat, they have Obi-Wan in the bacta tank. They parallel those two things with Anakin also being in the bacta tank, which was really effective. That connection that they both have, the trauma. And then we get Obi-Wan back on his feet, and he's really raring to go, even though he's not quite ready yet, as just as Indira Varma's character says to him, it's not just the body that needs to heal, it's also the mind, sort of thing. But he's ready to rescue Leia, basically, which is a very Obi-Wan Kenobi thing. He doesn't want her stuck in this base, and he has to go to the Fortress Inquisitorius. Is it Fortress Inquisitorius? Which is in the Mustafar system. And we saw this same place, this same base for the Inquisitors in the game, Fallen Order, which is fantastic. It was really well designed in the game, and it's great to see it in live action. And we also get a really cool entrance where Obi-Wan actually jumps into the water, and he's underwater swimming, which we haven't seen since, well, we saw it briefly in episode 3, but episode 1 Phantom Menace, it gives you good, great sort of flashbacks to then, with the same breather mask on as well. So yes, this is basically a rescue mission, and it's also demonstrating Obi-Wan coming back into himself, slowly, gradually, but he is coming back to himself. We see him use the lightsaber, we see him deflecting shots. Now, he isn't quite at full capacity like we saw in the prequels before, but it's good. There's weight to it, and it's great to see Ewan in those action scenes again. And obviously Leia is stuck with Reva, being interrogated by her. I thought that was really well done, and actually Leia as a character is growing on me. She started out as being a little bit of a brat, but she's growing on me, because she's been captured. You can understand it makes sense with her character to be that way. And yeah, Indira Varma's character and Obi-Wan have this plot to kind of rescue her. She is undercover, and I thought Indira Varma did a really great job sort of acting those scenes, pretending to be this stern officer and bluffing her way through. And I also like the way that they had Obi-Wan sort of running around the corridors, and very, very akin to A New Hope with Alec Guinness, kind of just sneaking around the Death Star, using little bits of the Force in a very gentle way. It's a very Jedi way of sort of making his way through. He doesn't just get his lightsaber out and start massacring stormtroopers. He does later, but just in a defensive way to get away. But I thought that was a great little callback, and it was very tense. This whole episode had a lot of tension, and I really, really appreciated that. So yes, we got Obi-Wan rescuing them, the great sort of scene as they're leaving and he's deflecting the shots, and then the glass smashes and he's holding it with the Force. So we're seeing Obi-Wan really have to kind of get his act together in order to save Leia. It's almost like he's doing it because he has to, you know, it's out of necessity. And then they manage to escape. And then Vader obviously is really angry, but it turns out Reva put a tracking device on the ship. Well, she didn't put it there. She put the tracking device in the little droid that is Leia's little pet kind of droid. So that's the kind of twist, which is they know where they are and they're going to find them, and she's obviously impressed Vader. So loved all of that. Loved the tension. Loved the kind of the fact that they got on with it quickly. I love the fact that we saw Obi-Wan starting to come into it. I don't want to rush that in terms of seeing him. It's nice to see him slowly get back to his Jedi ways, and just to see him wield the lightsaber effectively was such a treat. So all of that was great, and the performances throughout were great. There are a few things that I didn't like and a few concerns that I've got, however. Now, don't get me wrong, I love this show, and I'm every time I sit down to watch it, I enjoy it. It's a great time. However, there are a few caveats to that. The first being just the length. I think these episodes should be a little bit longer. This one was the shortest one yet, at about 38 minutes. The previous one was 48 minutes, and the ones before that were about 50 minutes. But 38 minutes is just too short. It felt like 20 minutes. And each week it's just torturous to see that. Not only that, but the fact that we've only got 6 episodes makes you, as a fan, very trepidatious about hoping that they cover certain things and hoping that there are enough aspects that get explored. And the closer we get to kind of that final episode, those things start to die out. So, you know, not a lot happened in this episode in terms of story development, I guess. It was more just a rescue mission, Obi-Wan kind of being a little bit more Jedi-like. But yeah, the episode was short, and now we only have 2 left. Now, I don't know if the next 2 are going to be longer in length. I would love it if they were both 50 minutes to an hour each, because it just isn't enough time. And obviously, if they're going to do it into a series, then they should utilize that. You know what I mean? They should utilize the episodic time, a little bit like Stranger Things. The newest Stranger Things, like each episode is like an hour and 10 minutes long. I just think they need to kind of, you know, make more of that time. But I will reserve full judgment until I've seen episode 5 and 6. The other concern I've got, now, I actually like the Inquisitors, I don't mind, and I actually like Reva. I think Moses Ingram's doing a good job, but she's not been given much to do in way of action, which I think will affect audience perception of her. What I mean is, if she was just an Imperial officer, we wouldn't be expecting her to do much other than, you know, bitch and complain in the Death Star or in the ship or in the fortress. But she is an Inquisitor, and quite a capable one at that. Or so the show wants us to believe. But we haven't seen her fight at all. We haven't seen her do anything. And in terms of actually, we've seen her jump and do the flips and stuff like that, but we haven't seen her, you know, just do some cool shit. You know, like, I mean, I really thought at the end when they were running in the hangar and she was running after them, I thought there might have been some battle or something like that. Now, I know that when Vader confronts her, she says, "I let them go," right? So if there had been too much of a close encounter, it wouldn't have worked, right? Because it wouldn't have been like, well, what if you'd have killed him in the fight? Then again, actually, no, it does make sense still. Actually, it does make sense. So I just think that there should have been more cool stuff, and all we had her do was deflect a few lasers, and it's like, at some point, you can tease someone being a badass, but you have to show it at some point, right? And I just think it's a bit of a waste. We haven't seen any of the other Inquisitors do anything other than walk around and talk. And it'd just be nice for one of them to get something. And obviously, they are trying to probably save the lightsaber duels for Vader and Obi-Wan. But, you know, why not have a short one somewhere? You know, just to show that she's powerful, or just to show what she can do with the lightsaber, or, I don't know, just anything, you know. So those two things are my biggest concerns at the moment, having watched episode 4. But I'm excited for what they're going to do. But I just hope that the next 2 episodes, 5 and 6, are just a little bit longer. Because if they're not, it might feel rushed. And I don't want it to feel like that, because it feels like the first 2 episodes spent a long time, or at least the first episode spent a while building things up. So to build things up like that, it just seems a shame to, you know, be restrained by some arbitrary episode length, if you know what I mean. So yeah. So I really enjoyed episode 4 in a lot of ways, but I still have concerns about the series as a whole, but I'm really excited to see what happens next. Okay, so I will make another video about episode 5 and 6 when they come out, but tell me what you think in the comments below. Comment, did you enjoy this episode? What do you think? What do you think about the rest of the series? And for more content on video games and movies, please hit the subscribe button. I really greatly appreciate it. Sam's Cup of Tea, signing off. Sam's Cup of